All right, guys, can we talk? Let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about the book of Boba Fett. Okay, the book of Boba Fett. Now, I know, keep in mind, I do understand that there's a lot of people out here who just don't care. They don't care about Star Wars or Disney Star Wars, to be specific. They don't care about the book of Boba Fett. A lot of people are not going to watch this thing. They've made videos. Some of my, contemporaries, they've made videos talking about how they're not going to watch this. And, I'm sure it makes a lot of people feel like they're taking a stand. But let me tell you something, guys. For years, what have I been saying? I'm the guy who's been saying that this is bigger than Star Wars, okay? It's bigger than comics. It's bigger than movies. This is what's going on in this world today. There are people who are in charge who are pretty much trashing our whole way of life. Whether it's what you watch, whether it's what you read, whether it's what you do, that's what's going on. I know a lot of people have forsaken Disney Star Wars after what they did to Gina Carano, which indeed was fucked up. But when I look around, I see a whole lot of people who are being run out of their jobs simply because they won't take the jab. Real life people who have real life situations and real life families have been put out of work because of what they choose to do with their own bodies. Now, unless you want me to believe that you're not paying taxes, you know what I'm saying? That you're not partaking in this society that we live in. Maybe you're on an island someplace, you're growing your own food, your own crop. To some degree, you're paying into the problem. So while I do respect people for taking the stand that they're taking against Disney Star Wars, believe me, I understand they don't deserve any of our money. Please don't believe that you're on the other side or you're on the outside of contributing to what this problem is. And this goes to those people who arrogantly look at people who are still watching Disney Star Wars. Okay, now for everybody else, I'm not talking about you. It's live and let live. But I'm just saying, there seems to be this air that, if you're watching this, you're part of the problem. You hate Star Wars, but what are you doing about it? Well, listen, we hate the way things are in this world, but what are we doing about it, guys? What are we doing about any of this? All right. So when I think of the book of Boba Fett, all right, there's a few things that come to mind that I want to talk about that I believe is part of the larger problem with this show. If you're enjoying it, like I said before, that's wonderful. I'm so happy for you. Give me a hug. But from what I can see, there is a narrative problem here, and I want to talk about it. This is the gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. The book of Boba Fett. Like I said, the narrative problem. Number one, I got a question which I've had from day one. Why is it actually called the book of Boba Fett? That's a very deliberate title. And I'm wondering what it is because I don't see any real narrative happening here that lends way to a title such as that. I said from the very beginning, I wish that there was a voiceover that was happening. Maybe if you had Boba actually narrating the story, think something like Sin City, you know what I mean? Or some of the older, TV shows or movies where they actually had the hero narrating the action, what he's thinking. Because if he's going to be a man of few words, I'm going to assume that he's not a man of few thoughts. He's got to have something going on somewhere. So I'd imagine in his mind, like with Batman, a lot of the Batman comics, in the yellow box or the blue box or whatever, you can see what he was thinking, So I would hope that, or I wished that that's the direction that they would have went. If you're going to call it the book of Boba Fett, it should read maybe like a journal or a diary or something like that. You know what I mean? So I was hoping for that. But, ultimately, guys, I talked about this on the Dark Council. Actually, I don't even think that Boba Fett is a good pick for a spotlight, for a show or a movie. I'm not one of those people who got excited when I heard there was going to be a Boba Fett movie or a Boba Fett show. For my money, since they did The Mandalorian, I would have liked to have seen Boba Fett be the antagonist. Think in Raiders of the Lost Ark, think Indiana Jones versus Belloc. Clearly they had a very, very long running rivalry. They had a underrunning respect for one another, but they had a brutal rivalry. You know what I'm saying? So they were always kind of like going at each other and, even though they did have a kind of a respect for each other and what they did, they also had this thing where they could only be one. You know what I'm saying? So Boba, I could see him being, like answering a bounty, against the Mandalorian, since the Mandalorian was on the run with Grogu, or Ragu, whatever his name is, Baby Yoda. I could see, Boba going after him and being a recurring character, a very cool character. You could actually build him up that way. But Boba Fett as a crime lord, I'm just not feeling that, guys. And so far, this show has been uneven. It's been lackluster, and even worse, it's been boring. Like this last episode where they had the teenagers for some reason in hover rounds. I could see if you had senior citizens in hover rounds or whatever, but you had teenagers in hover rounds. I was waiting for one of them to get into one of those chair lifts and go up the stairs, you know what I mean? But we didn't see that. But either way, they had the nerve to have a chase scene with young people, and it was boring, and it was devoid of personality. Like what happened to character development? Where's the fun? Guys, there's no fun. I mean, you have your little sprinkles of what could be here or there or whatever, but listen, I think what the difference is that Star Wars is supposed to be the gold standard. It's not just supposed to be, like I hear people saying, it's not bad, but it's not good. It's just, it's something that they accept. You know what I mean? It's not that bad. It's not great. That's what I'm hearing. But Star Wars is supposed to be great. If anything is going to be great, it should be Star Wars. And I just hate the fact that people have lowered their standards so far that we no longer hold Star Wars to the standard that it achieved. You know what I'm saying? I can understand if it was one of those properties that always showed signs of greatness, but Star Wars was great. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's unacceptable that it's just okay. It's not great, but it's okay. And also, guys, I have had this criticism since The Last Jedi, believe it or not, where I said in my review of The Last Jedi, I wondered, I was pondering, would this story, just the story now, forget about the characters necessarily, but would this story go down easier if it wasn't based upon the legacy characters? You know what I'm saying? Like if it wasn't supposed to be Luke Skywalker, it's almost like what Mark Hamill said. In order for him to get into the role, he had to forget about everything he knew about Luke Skywalker, and he had to imagine that this was Jake Skywalker. That's a very deep thing to say, because I kind of understand where he's coming from. I feel the same way. If you divorce yourself from this being Boba Fett, right? And you put new characters into this situation, you don't have to get bogged down with lore. I mean, a lot of the criticism that go against Disney Star Wars is that it breaks the lore. So if you're just inventing these stories aside and apart from the existing lore, would these actual stories go down better? And would it go down easier? Dissect each one of these properties in these movies or TV shows that Disney has done in the last, 10 years or so? And ask yourself that. You know what I mean? I think that if this wasn't a show about Boba Fett, it was just some old dude, maybe a clone even. Maybe if it was about a clone, who was out here having adventures, it might actually go down better. I'm not saying it would be a classic. I'm not saying it would be great, because God knows that chase scene would still be fucking lame. Okay? But what I'm saying is, if Disney had a little bit more faith in themselves instead of trying to fucking milk the audience, and try to wring every last ounce of nostalgia berries as they can out of the material, they might stand a better chance of gaining credibility on their own. You know what I'm saying? I said that about The Last Jedi. I said that about Solo. If it wasn't about Han Solo, if it was just about new characters, maybe, just maybe, it would have stood a better chance. And I give you as evidence of this, I give you The Mandalorian. Is it any coincidence that The Mandalorian went down a little bit easier with audiences when it was just about this new character, the Mandalorian? Of course, it wasn't free from criticism about breaking the lore, because he was Mandalorian, all right? So with that comes a knowledge from our Star Wars scholars of what Mandalorians are supposed to be and what they're not supposed to be. But if they did invest in creating new characters unattached to the old ones, like what they've been doing, what they insist upon doing, then I think they might do a little bit better. Just a little bit better. I mean, you still need better writing. You still need much better writing. But I think that's a great, great first step, to stop doing this. Because if anybody thinks that Han Solo is not going to show up, or if there's another series, Leia, all of these things, you're wrong. And they're not using them in the right way. They're using them as jump the shark moments. They're using them as publicity stunts. And with Luke, that went over pretty well in The Mandalorian because we were really, really thirsty for that. But they repaid our enthusiasm and our dedication and excitement by laughing at us in our emotional response to that. And also firing Gina Carano, which was a huge, huge mistake because the character Cara Dune was one of the best characters that they've been able to come up with, one of the best original characters that they were able to come up with. And of course, the way Gina Carano played her, she was credible. You know what I mean? She was believable. So I loved that. I loved Carl Weathers' character. I loved Bill Burr's character. They just did a lot in the way of getting out there to create new things. So that's what I find to be lacking in the book of Boba Fett. It's just not original enough. It's not exciting enough. And of course, because it's built upon a legacy character, then you have to be careful with the way that you handle that. And for some reason, I'm just not excited about this. If I see one more scene with him laying out in the Bacta tank, dude, it's just not working for me, bro. This is not what badass Boba Fett is supposed to be. And I never read the EU. I never read any of the novelizations. All I have to go by is the impression that he made upon me in the movies, and to some degree in the Clone Wars. So that's just my 2 cents, guys. That's how I feel about the book of Boba Fett. It is far, far from just okay. You know what I'm saying? It should be a lot more. Star Wars should be a lot more. And guys, stop fighting about, who likes what and whatever. It's like, obviously we all love Star Wars and we want it to be as good as possible. The difference is, I think, is that some people are just going to say, look, this is just what Star Wars is today. All right, and we're just going to accept it that way. I can get immersed in this. I got nothing else going on. So, I can sit down and watch this and I can forgive the flaws. And then you got people like me. I work a lot of hours. You know what I'm saying? It's like when I want my mind blown. You know what I mean? It's like when I get that time to sit down and watch something, I just don't want it's okay, especially if it's Star Wars. You know what I'm saying? I want to see something that is next level, something that shows me that the writers were actually thinking about things. And I want to see things that I've never seen before. I don't think that's too much to ask from Star Wars. If it's something else, that's something else. But like I said, Star Wars should be that standard. But guys, what are your thoughts on the book of Boba Fett? Besides, I don't care. All right? It's like, come on, guys. It's like, if you want to get in the comment section and tell me you don't care, I already know that you don't care. It's like, what I'm asking about is, what do you think could make this better? What do you think the problem is? Is it just that Disney is just not a good fit for Star Wars, which is what I've been saying for years? Robert Rodriguez, I thought he would be better. We just need better creatives, guys. That's my opinion, but give me your opinion in the comment section. As always, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe. Catch me on Twitter, catch me on Rumble, where I do my, my videos that are a little bit more socially impactful, where I talk about more issues of the jab and all that stuff. And you can catch me on the next one. Thank you guys for listening. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.